So I got to play Black Ops 6 early. Thank you to Activision for inviting me out to the Treyarch studio to get a little bit of playtime, but also a presentation about the storyline of where the game takes place, the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. So we start off narratively so you know where the campaign and the game takes place. It's set after the events of Black Ops Cold War, and then it's also tied to the 1980s flashback from Black Ops 2. So if you go to Black Ops 2, play through that campaign, there's a couple flashback missions. It's like immediately right after that. So I think that's in 88, 89, and then the game takes place in 91. So it's kind of the events surrounding that area. So the campaign, as many campaigns have been done and helped out with, Raven jumped in and helped out with this one to try and deliver an epic spy thriller single player narrative, single player because it's not going to be co-op or anything like that. And that's unbound by the rules of engagement, an immersive underlying government conspiracy, and that's kind of the start of it. Depth and variety of globetrotting missions along stealth gameplay mixed with blockbuster action along with the signature Black Ops twists and turns. And they kind of showed us a little bit of gameplay on this where you're going to be able to see some of the normal missions where they're super linear. And then they had some open world missions, or at least one open world mission that was not like, it's kind of like what we expected from MW3, but we didn't really get. Like MW3 was like a trash version of that, and it was terrible. We played it on stream and it was terrible. This version was a little bit different. It felt actually like what we expected from an open world mission. So they played a portion of that. They sped up some things so we can kind of get into the action and see what was going on right away. And we'll kind of see how those play out in the actual game. But in terms of graphics, this area that they showed us, it's insane how good the game looks. And some of these places will consist of the harsh Russian tundra. We also got the vast Middle East desert, Southern Europe, and the US in a race against time. It says iconic characters Frank Woods and Russell Adler, with all new allies including Troy Marshall and Jane Harrow. 90s gadgets and equipment allow additional possibilities for combat and stealth. The new safe house is kind of like this in between missions, the same way that we kind of had in IW, and I think there was a couple in Cold War, I think, where you were able to go to an area and then you just select the next mission. So it kind of serves as that area. An abandoned manor and KGB black site offers an expanded campaign hub where players can choose to learn about their allies, explore, solve puzzles, gather lore and upgrades, or just go to the evidence board and select missions. And that's the intro for the campaign, right? So super streamlined. They don't want to give too much away. They want players to explore and those types of things. So they don't really give too much, but that gets us into zombies, right? Zombies, they didn't really want to talk too much about because I'm pretty sure they're going to be a bigger later like introduction of what's included with that. We've seen some pre-order stuff go around where we're able to see the gobblegums and a lot of the things. I think they're going to take inspiration from like some of their best stuff. So hopefully some Black Ops 3 stuff, maybe some Cold War stuff mixed in, some of the better elements, and we'll kind of see what they are, what ends up happening. And then also it's going to be a 4-player crew with Weaver, Gray, Carver, and Maya, which is a brand new character. It says Maya Aguinaldo, and it says with hours of quest lines. And I think how this is going to work is you're going to be able to choose your own operator, plus be able to be one of those operators. They weren't 100% clear, but we do get 4 operators to choose from, or characters, with Weaver, Gray, Carver, and Maya. And we'll see kind of how that goes. Those are returning. They're alive in this because obviously the time it takes place. So we get the return of round-based zombies, and it's pretty much only round-based zombies based off the explanation they gave. There was nothing about like Outbreak, nothing a continuation of the current big map zombies mode. There may be something down the road that's free to play. I don't know. They didn't say anything about that, but realistically, we're going to get 2 round-based maps. A fan favorite mode where players will take down increasingly difficulty as the waves go on. Obviously, you get the increments of 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever you want to go to, 50, 100, and then you kind of get those that experience of how hectic it can get. 2 brand new maps at launch. One's going to be called Liberty Falls, and the other one's going to be called Terminus. The Terminus map kind of looked like Rebirth Island, but not. And it was kind of dark, a little prison-y type feel. And then the Liberty Falls was kind of like an open area where there was a gas station, like a little town feel. So I don't know exactly how they'll play out. We didn't really see much gameplay, which is kind of like, oh, here's the icon of what the map looks like type thing. So not too expensive there. Features a curated mix of powerful weapons and upgrades, deadly enemies, and tons of secrets to uncover. There was actually some new zombies enemy types that I wasn't familiar with. They didn't really talk about that part. When you could see it in, there was a little bit of a clip of the trailer. You can kind of see, oh, that's a different one. We haven't seen those. So it's interesting that they're going to be adding some more in that way. The dedicated Treyarch Zombies team returns with their most dynamic zombies experience yet. We'll have to wait and see on that. A lot of times they have these lofty goals. They put it out there as it's the best, whatever. And sometimes they missed a mark. Treyarch generally doesn't miss. I know that Cold War isn't seen as favorably as BO1, 2, and 3, or even BO4, but they didn't really have much time to work on that game. They had to take over it after Sledgehammer. So there's a lot of excuses of why that game just wasn't up to par. And that's why they probably didn't call it Black Ops 5. But this is called Black Ops 6, so I would imagine they were able to put their full effort into it with the extra lead up time of expected of 4 years, which normally they usually only get about 2 years. So it's like double the time they were able to work on the game. Now we get into one of the most important parts, which is multiplayer, right? And a lot of things that happen in multiplayer, they have that trickle in effect that we have in Warzone. So if they change the movement, we might be able to see some of those elements. If they add new weapons, we're going to see those. Maybe some perk changes. There's other things that trickle in to Warzone. So even if you're not a huge multiplayer person, we can go ahead and kind of see how that part works. One of the most significant things, at least when I played the game, and that they really put an emphasis on, is the new redefined movement across all modes. And it's like never before. It's called Omni movement. Basically, it allows you to sprint three-dimensionally. Prior to this, you were only able to sprint forward. If you have sprint, instead of walking like a side strafe, you actually turn and you're able to like kind of run that way. Obviously not while aiming down sight, but you get faster mobility while sprinting. On top of that, you can also dive in any direction. I know one of the clips that circulated quite a bit was a Max Payne clip as soon as this kind of got leaked. Omnidirectional movement, it's kind of like Max Payne. We didn't really have any footage to show, but essentially, it's going to be much faster than that. It's first person, like awesome. I don't know how they managed to pull it off. There's a few different elements with the movement where you're able to dive and you're able to aim down sight and fire pretty much immediately. I'm sure that maybe there's a minor delay, but compared to what we have now, it's insignificant. You're able to dive sideways at an angle, forward, backwards. And this is going to change how people play the game, especially if you're a more aggressive player, you're going to be able to be more aggressive and utilize this movement. When you go ahead in ADS in the prone, before you would prone and your body would just slowly turn. This one, your body rolls. Like, so you roll on your back, roll on your other side. So it's gonna feel a little bit different. And it gives a little bit more dynamic flavor to the movement. And I would say that's probably as fast as pace as we've gotten without jetpacks, right? It's not a jetpack COD by any means, but it's going to have that fast flavor and feel. This is going to take care of your ability to slide. You could tack sprint, all those movements, and it's an additional layer of movement that will be added in that. So it'll be pretty cool. I think after playing it, I can't really give too much feedback on it. I think it's going to play really well when we actually get a chance to try it out. Early access, beta, and those types of things. They also have intelligent movement, which is a way to like set it up so you can do a lot of the movement automatically. If you just put it on to default, it's like auto tack sprint, but now you get auto mantle, auto slide under stuff, like it's just making it streamlined. I don't know if I think that would be more for casuals. If you're more of a skilled player and you want really good control of your movement, you'll just be able to turn some of those things off and you'll just press them manually, whether it's the slide, to jump, sprint, tag sprint, bunny hop, whatever those are, you'll have access to those. But they also have this interesting mechanic where if you come up to an edge, it'll do like a peek around the corner, almost like a lean effect. And it's done very smartly. So it doesn't do it when you don't want it. If you're going through a door, you're just going to keep your gun out. If you come around the edge, you're going to kind of pie the edge. And that's kind of how that part works. The nice part is the game is launching with 16 maps, which is pretty solid. All of them are brand new. There's no remakes, remasters, re-envisioned. 16 brand new maps. 12 of those will be 6v6 maps, which are the ones 3 lane, small, medium maps generally. And then they have these smaller maps, which are going to be 4 of them will be strike maps. And these could be 2v2, 1v1, 6v6. But they're going to be those fast-paced ones that we kind of had in Cold War, where there wasn't streaks allowed. So they play a little bit different, but those are like just high action shipment style nonsense where you don't expect to be a strategist. You just kind of go in and do your thing. On top of that, classic prestiging is returning. And I know there's a lot of people that are newer to COD. They haven't really ever had to experience classic prestiging. At least since BO4, we haven't had really a prestige system. But essentially, once you reach level 55, you'll be given the option to prestige. I know they want to give us more details on how that particularly functions. And then you'll get the option to be reset back to level 1. Your camo progress and those types of things will carry over. So it's not like you lose that progress. You'll probably get a prestige token, my guess, if they're calling it classic. And then after you've had the opportunity to go through that and do that 10 times, you can actually go all the way to level 1000 from day 1. So if you're an ultra grinder and you're tired of this seasonal cap nonsense where you're able to go up to 650, 850, whatever, you can just grind to your heart's content and go to Prestige Master. I was never one of those that was really grinding those like that, but it gives you something at the beginning where all your XP counts, especially on those camo grinds. So I'm looking forward to that one and see the rewards that you get that are only be available for people that have prestiged and then also reach Prestige Master. On top of this, another fan favorite feature is theater mode is going to be returning. And hopefully this makes its way into Warzone, because so many times where you're like, I think this person might be cheating, then you can actually spectate them from their POV. At least with this, you could spectate, put on the wall and see, all right, what were they actually looking at in the gameplay? So I think that's super effective. I think in terms of content creation, this is huge. I can do spectating random by literally randomly spectating a multiplayer. Hopefully if it transfers over to Warzone, you can do it that way too. There's a lot of different variables with that. You can get some nice, good screenshots. As a content creator, that stuff's cool. You can rewatch your gameplay and find out, hey, you know what? Maybe where was I doing mistakes? Did I get killed by a bad spawn? What was going on in the gameplay? It gives you a good resource. Or you can pull out this cool clip and you're like, shoot, I don't have anything to record it. Theater mode. Let me show my buddies. They wouldn't believe me otherwise. I got that nuke or whatever the case is. Another part is customizable HUD presets. So right now we got the default mini map on the top left. We got the ammo and the stuff on the right. We got kill feed on the left, middle, you know, those types of things. They'll be able to swap the presets. So if you want your mini map on the top right, bottom left, so it can match other games that you're comfortable with, or you just want a different thing. Maybe when you go into zombies, you want a bigger mini map. You're going to have access to these tools so that you can go ahead and just pick which one better suits you, even if you like the default one by itself. So for some other features, when it comes to multiplayer, I'll read directly off my notes because there were multiple bullet points. Returning score streaks. So there's not going to be kill streaks, and it's not that weird system from Cold War where it kind of like was a requisitions where your streak stayed until your death. If you die, your score sets back to 0 for your score streaks and you have to earn them. So pretty straightforward. Wild cards. This will be very similar to what we had in Cold War where you can get like primary gunfighter and you can get 3 extra attachments. So instead of 5, you'll get 8. You can run an extra perk. Instead of the base 3, you can get a 4th. And those types of things. You can get overkill, whatever. Wild cards, if you're familiar with them, that's kind of how they work. Detailed weapon stats. The build that we ended up playing, they didn't have that stuff available for me to say what it looked like or whatever. But just kind of imagine that we're going to have something similar to what we have currently within Warzone and MW3. Shared optics. So the attachments, it sounds like you're going to be able to level up a specific gun, and then the attachments are for the gun itself. You don't need to do that cross leveling nonsense. If you want one gun to level, you level that one, and then you'll be able to equip the specific optics. It also is in like list format instead of that weird scrolly side stuff that we have right now with the 70 some optics where you gotta, it's awful. You get your favorite class, showcase weapon, shooting range, which we didn't get a chance to see. There is a combat specialties as well, and this is with the perk system. So one way to kind of explain how this part works is in perk 1, you got a list of like all kinds of multicolored perks, whether it's red, blue, yellow, and like light blue or green or whatever the case is. We've had these color coded things before. Perk 2, same thing. Perk 3, same thing. If you just choose perks and mix and match what you want, that's cool. They work. But if you happen to synergize a specific color line with one red perk, one red perk, one red perk for perk 1, 2, and 3, you're going to get a set bonus for using all red perks. you'll get additional bonus perk for equipping all of those. So it kind of incentivizes that, but it also causes you to lean into a certain play style. So for me, if I'm like, hey, you know what, I want to stealth, maybe I'd look for the perks that combine that, all green, and then boom, I have a super unlocked. Kind of like set bonuses that we have in other games, whether it's Diablo or whatever. You equip those 3 pieces of gear, you get the set bonus. It's essentially the same thing. A dedicated melee. So in the created class, you'll have your primary, your secondary, and then you have a dedicated melee that if you want to just hold the melee button, it would pull out the melee weapon. And I think this is going to be similar to Apex. It'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays out. End of day, it's kind of a cool thing, maybe for Warzone if you want to do that to get around the map faster. I know people have been asking for this for kind of a while, especially since Apex has done its thing, but I see it from the money side of it. They're just going to charge for some heirloom, right? Like Apex, and you'll be able to have that melee weapon that you could run around with and do some special animations for. End of the match, we'll have best play, and then they'll also do a winner's circle similar to Black Ops 3. Kind of fast, to the point, 1, 2, 3, boom, done. They do a quick thing and they're out. Not like Vanguard. Vanguard was terrible. So hopefully we avoid that waste of time, because in Vanguard, it was easier to get towards the end of the match, regardless if you were winning or losing. You back out and then queue up again, because that's faster than waiting for that posting. This should be much better. So one of the last things they did mention in the presentation, they wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about the systems that they're on the Call of Duty engine. It's a unified engine. It's no longer just the IW8 engine or whatever the case is. They all essentially use the same engine, and they talked about how this was super helpful in developing their game, because I don't know, how much you guys pay attention to this stuff, but Raven, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, they basically work on a lot of different elements of the game throughout the year, even when it's not their year to make the game. So Treyarch helped heavily with zombies this year. They did a lot of work on Urzikstan to make the map with zombies and the different effects and the different missions and all that stuff. They said that a lot of that work was awesome because they were able to essentially use some of their work that they made on this and carry over into zombies in terms of like whether the zombie AI or whatever, just within the engine to work on to actually make their job work a little bit easier. But the nice part too is the things they've done with the Omni direction, it's kind of going to be available for future CODs. So if you're a huge fan of this movement, it should be exciting because the next COD will probably have it, and then or an iteration of it. And then the games will have their own look and feel, but they can evolve based off the work they've saved time on doing in a previous game or title. The other part is the carry forward. Basically, nothing's going to carry forward to Black Ops 6. Warzone, they'll have a blog about it later on. My assumption is we're just going to get it all added, operators, weapons, into Warzone 3. And then they'll just make MW2, MW3 weapons unusable or whatever the case is, like they've done with MW2 currently, where the vast majority are just not worth using, at least in Warzone. But there's other content that's really important. The game will be available globally on Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, PS4 still, PC via Battle.net, Microsoft Store, and Steam on Friday, October 25th. So we have the release date. Black Ops 6 open beta will be free across all platforms, with players who pre-order gaining early access, because obviously that PlayStation exclusivity is gone. So probably first week will be if you pre-ordered it. Second week will pretty much be for everyone, regardless if they pre-ordered or not. So you'll have access to play the game before you ever spend a dime on it, which is pretty nice. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 will be available on day 1 of launch for subscribers to select Game Pass plans. So if you have the Game Pass Ultimate, Game Pass PC, Game Pass Console, active subscribers access to the digital cross-gen bundle or PC standard edition Microsoft Store, and Black Ops 6, including the Woods Operator Pack, early access benefits will be full game available and launch. It's really hard to say what it feels like without being able to say what it feels like, but I had a good time playing, even though I only played 4 matches. I'm looking forward to some of the changes they've made with wild cards and the creative class. You guys will be able to find out more as we are able to jump into more details. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.